Hi guys, welcome to my design breakdown of the Ripper that I did in my Dead Space redub. So I'll just go through step by step and explain how I achieved that outcome. This could be useful if you're trying to make any sort of kind of like power tool style sounds, saw type sounds, I guess. Okay, so the first thing I started with was the saw blade. Because I knew it would be the hardest thing to make, because I had no I had no access to an actual saw, so I had to come up with something pretty creative to make it sound like a saw blade. This is going to be interesting for me as well, because I've not actually looked at this since I made it. So I've got a bunch of motors. Let's have a listen to what this is. That's the sound of a handheld fan, just the fan spinning. And I think that's the same sound file, it's just pitched up. So I wanted to create like a constant kind of like engine sound, motor sound, for when the blade is in action. So I did that, and that was going to be kind of like the underlying sound. Now when the blade hits the enemy, I wanted the sound to change. I wanted it to sound like more aggressive, like it's really tearing into this enemy. So what I got here is, this is a stick blender. The sound file, I've got the sound file here. So I used, that was, the stick blender I have has two settings. It's got a normal speed and it's got a fast speed. So that was the normal speed and this is the fast speed. You see, same sort of sound, but the pitch goes higher. Basically, what I was doing was alternating between those two sound files. So it'll start off at the normal speed, like here, and then when it starts to hit the enemy here, it'll speed up into the faster speed. And then when it disengages contact, it'll go back down to the normal speed, and so on and so forth. And because the sound file, I recorded the sound file a while ago, so it was a bit too short. It was much shorter than what I needed, so I had to crossfade quite a few things together. But this was the final outcome of this. And let's listen to all that together. So getting something pretty cool there. What else have we got here? This is where my memory fails me. Okay, that's just, what is that? Let me have a look. That is the sound of a fan, I believe. Yes, what I did was I got a piece of paper. It's the mini fan sound. That. But what I did, it's the same mini fan, but I got a piece of paper and basically had the blades slapping against that piece of paper. So it had this much more like aggressive sound to it. And I thought that sounded great for when it's kind of cutting into the enemy. It made it sound much more aggressive, so I'll have a listen. It's quite overpowered by the stick blender sound. I'm not sure if this was how I mixed it in the final thing. It might not have been. I did want the stick blender to be the main sort of sound though. And then I just I layered that with sort of like the same sort of sounds, but EQ'd differently to thicken it up a bit more. So it's quite noisy, but I wanted it to be quite, I figured the noisier it was, the more aggressive it is. This is where it gets interesting. So, for the metallic sound, because at the minute it's just sounding like it doesn't have that sharpness. I knew it needed to be sharper. So, what I used when it loads. Got Omnisphere out. Old faithful. Yeah, so what I did was I had the sound of a knife scraping. I should have it here somewhere. Knife. Yeah, so no, stop it. Stop. Yeah, it was one of these, metal scraping 4. I think I renamed it now. But yeah, so it had this scrape and then like a shing at the end of it. And what I did was I've got 2 of them, 2 different metal scraping sounds, and I loaded them into the granulizer in Omnisphere. So this is a position slider, and this like is basically the length of your audio file, and it'll repeat and granulize and create these like granular artifacts at the point of the audio file that you select, basically, and it'll just keep going. So yeah, so it's basically repeating this kind of midsection of the sound file, so it's like a constant scraping sound. And then on top of that, I had I had them both playing. So the first one was like that, and then the second one I had more of like tried to get more of a metallic, like a ring to it. And when I played them together, it was like this. It made the blade seem so much sharper, and that just really brought the whole sound together. And now we have ping 1 and ping 2. What are ping 1 and ping 2? Let's have a listen, if I can. There we go. That is... I think that's just a random metallic object that I hit. And I think that is the same one, but I've time stretched it differently. That was basically because at the end of the weapon firing cycle, the blade basically disappears. It kind of shatters or something. So I needed some sort of sound to kind of finalize it. You can see the little spark appear. It shatters there. So that was pretty much and then it was just kind of similar thing. Destroyed that guy. Yeah, I don't think this is the kind of final mix that I came out with. These are the final sounds, but the levels are a bit imbalanced in this. But that's the saw blade. That was quite an interesting thing. Ready weapon. I don't know why I've got 2 ready weapons. Don't know what I was doing, but we'll have a look. Have a listen. Right. So this is basically when you aim your weapon. These are the sounds. So plastic 1. That is literally like a couple bits of plastic clicking together, and another few, and another few, and another few. So many plastics. Okay, what do they sound like together? Brilliant. But you can see when it kind of works when he opens his weapon. Because you can see it kind of... I wanted it to be kind of like clicks at different time periods, because it folds out. It's not like a super fast thing. You can see it kind of like folds out, so I needed it to have a kind of like foldy out sound. And then it fires afterwards. What have we got here? Yeah, this screwdriver. I've got a small screwdriver, and if you twist it, it makes that sort of noise. I don't know. I've got a toolkit full of tools that I never use. I'm like the last person you'd expect to have a toolkit. But yeah, they make lots of interesting sounds. So that kind of elongated the foldy out sound again. And finally, this was the one that really brought it together. A tape measure retracting. So add that in. That really, really, really made it good. Tape measures are amazing, apparently. Or maybe they're not, and they're only useful for this sort of thing. So listen to that with the saw blade. But there's something missing. The weapon isn't making a firing noise. Firing the weapon. Right, okay. What have we got? Oh, back to the old kitchen knives. Oh, okay. So I've cut off... It looks like I've cut off the tail. Yeah, I have. Or cut off the start even. So... That's one of it. That's just the kitchen knife scrapey sound. Kitchen knife 6. That doesn't sound like kitchen knife 6, but whatever. Maybe if I actually... Ah, it's transposed down 5. The screwdriver. That is the same screwdriver sound, I think. Or I think I took more than one sample actually. So it's another sample of that screwdriver. And I made that extended a little bit. That was kind of weird. I think I just threw that in to kind of fill the space out a little bit. It's not really meant to be totally noticeable. Tape measure. That looks like the same one. Huh. Well, that doesn't sound like a tape measure. What have I done to that? Let's have a look. Transport. No. What have I... Ah! I bit crushed it. Because, of course, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I bit crush a tape measure? Oh, fuck. It's because I needed kind of like an explodey fiery sound. Why would I use a tape measure? That I have no idea. It was an experimental day. And now we have an Omnisphere Patch. I think... what is that? Did I make that? No, I cheated. I done a cheat and used an Omnisphere sound. Not making a noise. Why aren't you making noise? But I done a cheat. That was naughty of me. I think I started phoning it in at this point. Yeah. But then I came back the next day and started on the reload sound. So the reload sounds 100% genuinely me. So that's kind of it all together there. The fire is quite cool. I'm quite happy with the firing sound. That I made all by myself, not... okay. Reload. Right. The reload was quite cool, actually. I thought it was going to be harder to make than it was, but it was literally me throwing screwdrivers and tape measures together, and everything kind of turned out fine. That was the main kind of like the beef of it when he's pulling back, because he needs to... I've chopped that tape measure sample up so it sounds like he's slowly getting faster. This was actually based off the original sound. It's got kind of like a sound like similar to that. I also added in some more screwdriveriness at the end to make it sound a bit more like it's speeding up a bit more. And then I've got, that's the flint of a cigarette lighter, just for kind of like a final click. And oh, I've got another tape measure. Man, I was on a tape measure spree. Just for more clicks. Oh yeah, that's actually quite cool. Man, that's a good sound. Tape measures. Tape measures are the way forward. What have we got here? Oh yeah, I needed the sound of his hand hitting the metal. So, boom. And finally, a door handle. Of course. Yeah. I needed the sound of the actual metal scraping, because I've got the mechanisms here, but I don't have the thing's made of metal, you know, it's going to be kind of a bit rusty and stuff like that. I needed that kind of aching, scrapey, whining sound that metal makes. That's awesome. And this is where my second ready weapon folder came in. I pretty much took all the samples from the ready weapon thing and just rearranged them to get, if I actually play the audio instead of being an idiot, let's get that final clicky things. So tape measure, screwdriver, and just kind of plastic clicks. Those plastic clicks is literally just bits of plastic, like any sort of like little tiny plastic mechanism of any kind, really. Sampled a hell of a lot of them. Yeah, so one more listen of the final sound. Yeah, it is quite harsh sounding in this project. I think I did some tweaking and bounced it and then didn't actually save the tweaking that I did. But yeah, go check out my Dead Space redub. I spent I a good couple of months or something working on it for a university project, and I'm really happy with the result, and it does sound a lot better than I can show in here anyway. But thanks for checking out this design breakdown. If I come across, like, if I manage to build any more sounds that I think are pretty interesting, this was really all about the saw blade and using the granular synth and stuff like that. For me, that was kind of the major breakthrough, I think, in this. But yeah, if I figure out any more, so if I discover any more interesting things, or build any more interesting sounds, then I'll be sure to make breakdown videos like this if people enjoy watching them. So, leave a like, comment, subscribe, do whatever, have a beer, have fun, have a good day, bye bye.